Welcome to this edition of the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce News and Views. I'm your host, Diane Sawyer, and today with us we have a very special guest and a friend of mine, Ashley Cooper with ADTS. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So currently, in your newest title, I guess, which I'm not sure how long you've had, you are the Community Outreach and Development Director.
That is correct, yes.
And you have been with ADTS how long now?
10 years this month.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I was going to say, I knew it was about the whole time I had been, so I'm 12 years this month, so I knew it wasn't much longer. And interestingly enough, we do marathon recordings of our shows, and our previous guest, he was somebody that I saw his face a lot during the pandemic, and you were another one who plugged in quite a bit when we were trying to just meet regularly and have that social interaction. And you know, we did some fun stuff, but then we also did just kind of resources. What are they? Where are they? How do we all connect?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It's good to be like in person, sitting together, not talking through the computer, and working on some stuff. So I kind of wanted to have you on the show because we just recently did the ribbon cutting in conjunction with the city and ADTS for our SKAT Bus Shelters, which is really cool.
Isn't it? It's wonderful.
It's
I
so
call that our
wonderful.
New York City transportation.
Yes, girl.
Yes.
I like it.
Yes, absolutely. As with most public transportation, you need to have a place that you can sit and with any type of weather and be able to wait comfortably.
Yes, and it is amazing. Like, I cannot believe we have those, and I was so thankful. And I think that started with a Reidsville City Council person who said, we've got to have these shelters. But it was Sherry Walker. And she was just very, you know, adamant, like, how do we figure this out? So very excited to see that come to fruition. But it brought me to, we need an ADTS update.
Yes, we do. We have a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
As always, we're always growing, always responding to whatever the community need is. And so that's probably one of the main reasons why I've stuck around at ADTS is because we are innovative. It's always something different, and we're always trying to meet the needs of the people that we support.
And it's always a challenge, right?
Always.
So I feel that way about the chamber too. I think that's why people ask me all the time, you know, what do you want to do later? And I'm like, oh, this is it. I mean, because every day's different, and every, you know, every person who has a question or an issue or a whatever it is a new challenge, a different day, a different thing. So, and I feel like you guys are always rising to the occasion. And the population that you serve is ever changing. So
It is.
Tell us about some of the cool stuff you have going on. I know you were just saying that there was, you know, some new programs and some new things and things that people don't know about. So I want to hear all about them.
Sure. Well, I want to back up just a second. You mentioned that the population is always changing, and it is. Actually, in Rockingham County, people 55 and older make up 43% of the population. So that's a large swath of people to support. And so we try to do that in a variety of ways. And the people that we do support are typically older adults, individuals with disabilities, and their caregivers. And I think caregivers really tend to get left off out of that. So, and we know that they are the reasons why a lot of times people get placed maybe unwanting or earlier than they should. And so we really do try to target in with the caregiver. So we offer a couple different things. We offer a caregiver navigator. Caregiving is very overwhelming, and for a lot of people, I know when I started 10 years ago, most caregivers was just a spouse. Very rarely was it anybody else in the family, or maybe an adult child would step in on occasionally whenever things got where they needed a little bit more support. But over the years, I've seen that transition to being more adults, of adult children stepping in. And so that's a unique experience because they're working. So how do you help people who are working? Because a lot of times we get calls, caregivers whispering and saying, I only have 15 minutes, this is what's going on, can you help me? So we offer a caregiver navigator. It's a one call that you call and you tell them everything that's going on, and they are plugged into not only what the services that we provide at ADTS, but also what services are available in the community, and then we try to match accordingly. And But also what's really great about that is that we're just not passing off like, hey, call this number, this resource. We can offer to make that phone call for you. We have the direct line to people because I don't know, everything's automated nowadays. And so you make a phone call and you wait and wait and wait. But we actually have like the numbers of the people who can actually support you and help you cut through all that waste. So you can call our main line, and that's 349-2343, and they will connect you with Charlotte. And as I said, she can talk you through what's available. But we also know that a lot of people, as they're aging, are supporting caregivers are supporting their loved ones with dementia, right? And so before the pandemic, we used to do something called After Hours Enrichment Series. We just did it quarterly around Dementia Education. We would partner with Brookdale, and we'd have it at their site. And then when the pandemic came, we started listening to our caregivers, and they were feeling really overwhelmed, where they could step out and go to work, or they could go have lunch with friends. Now they were in their house with their loved one who has dementia, and it was just becoming a lot. So we transitioned to a virtual space, as most people did. And we opened it up to anybody and everybody in the county. And so we ADTS partners with Brookdale Assisted Living to offer monthly virtual classes on the second Thursday of every month at 6 p.m. And what's really great, it's 1 hour. You don't have to even turn on your camera if you don't want to, but it's from 6 to 7, and we bring in speakers from the Alzheimer's Association, from the Dementia Alliance of North Carolina, geriatric care managers, and we really try to target what people are having problems with. And it's just a little nugget of information, and then we allow opportunities for caregivers to share where their problems or their pain points are. So what's really great about this program is that it enables long distance caregivers to also attend virtually. And that's great because it allows them to have the same vocabulary and the same understanding, so that way they can support the in-home caregiver a lot easier. And we've really seen some bonding from families, and it's been a great resource. When the pandemic transitioned, we decided to keep it virtually because it enables working caregivers to attend. A lot of times, I don't know about you, when I get home, I just want to get in my comfy clothes. I don't want to go back out. And so this enables caregivers just to attend. As I said, they don't have to turn on their camera. They type in whatever they would like to ask or share, and then we try to make it as anonymous as possible. We do record the sessions for people who aren't able to attend, and then we send that out at the end of the session.
I think that is so important that you feel that need. Yes, girl, comfy clothes is it. I get that. And as much as I crave the in-person, I also have been really thankful that so many things have remained virtual or digital and give you the opportunity. But like you said, they also can receive what they need and tune in, if not. And so to me, recording it, because maybe they didn't get to tune in this time, and sending it out. And we are doing so much of that. And I feel like using Roy at Rockingham Update and being able to record, not only these sessions that we're doing with the news and views, but also we've been recording any of our lunch and learns because people just aren't coming to those in person. But wow, the hits that we get and the views that we get after the fact. So I think it's so important that you're doing that.
Yeah, I think, things have changed. And as we were talking about earlier, you have to adapt. And yes, you would like everybody to return, but things have come up in our life that we've plugged in those times that we would normally give to something face-to-face to now we don't have it. So if we can have the opportunity to listen to it virtually or record it, it definitely does make a big difference.
And I'll be honest, I was asked to participate on a board, and because of the type of organization they have been strictly virtual and don't know that they'll ever change that board meeting. It's the only reason I agreed to it, because I desperately wanted to do it, but it was in the evenings, and I've got 3 kids and things going on, and I feel like I'm a taxi driver in the afternoons, and so I'm able to just plug in. And I actually was already on an advisory committee, and I told them, I said, if you go back in person, so I've got 2 things happening that are virtual that I wouldn't be able to contribute to or be a part of if I wasn't able to just turn that Zoom on my phone and keep trucking down the road with my AirPod in. You know what I mean?
I
like
do
I
know
just,
exactly what you mean.
I'm sitting in the driveway at dance listening to whatever and meeting or whatever. So that is first world problems, right? But for those people that are so desperate on the caregiving side, we just went through that during the pandemic with losing both of my grandparents. My grandmother ended up coming from Danville to a facility here in Rockingham County so that my mom and I could help be a part of that. But those are hard decisions. And it's, and you're right, there's a lot more adult children who are working and then taken care of, but it's starting to be like it's neighbors and, you know, for people who don't have anybody, friends, you know, or they'll do a mix of a hired help, but then also other people checking on them. And I mean, it's just difficult. So that's a huge resource.
Yeah, definitely. Neighbors helping neighbors. I think one of the reasons I'm so passionate is I'm also a caregiver for my mother, but I also collect people. So I collect older adults. I've always done that. And so my neighbor, you know, she needed more help and she has no family. And she's what we would refer to as an elder orphan. And so, you know, I feel for her, and I just try to imagine it's taking me 10 years to figure out how the system works, just be able to support my mother. I can only imagine if I didn't have anybody on top of being on pain medication and just not feeling well and maybe not able to hear as well, trying to navigate that system. And so, again, that's what's so great about our Care Navigator is that she's able to, even if you're not a caregiver or if you're a neighbor, you know, you can just say, can you call my neighbor and talk to her? Then it's just another avenue of support for people in the county. And I think that's really vital, especially as we're aging.
Well, and sometimes people just need to hear a voice, no matter what, whether it's the elder or the caregiver or they just need to hear that somebody cares and have that human connection.
Yes, so. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, you guys have got so much going on. I want to be sure we cover it. You were mentioning that there were some other new programs and things that you wanted to discuss. Tell us about that.
So we took the time over the pandemic to really flesh out our veteran supports. So we actually have 3 different type of veteran supports. Now we have veterans can attend our Life Enrichment and Friendship Center, which is our adult daycare center here in Reidsville, but it services the whole county. We also now offer to veterans in-home services through the VA. And then lastly, which I think is really cool, we're offering transportation to the Kernersville Clinic every Monday from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. And it's completely free. They don't have to call and make a reservation or anything like that. We do ask that they call and just let us know they're going to be there, so that way we make sure that we catch them. But every hour they're leaving and going to Kernersville. And if you've ever tried to, first of all, get any services through the VA, it's really challenging. But second of all, a lot of times it's a full day of attending. It's a full day in Kernersville or Salisbury or Durham. Currently we just go to Kernersville, and it's really challenging. So if you get done with your service, you can just know that at the top of every hour we'll be back and we can pick you back up. And so that way you're not having to wait hours for someone to come get you or for another type of transportation service to come get you at the end of the day, because that's the only way that they can do it. And we're just really excited about it. And veterans are driving the bus.
Wow.
So it's veterans supporting veterans. And I think that's just pivotal in small or in a cohort like veterans. They understand each other much better than a civilian does. And so it's a great opportunity for veterans to support their peers by doing that. So I hear there's a lot of great stories that get told on that bus.
I can only imagine.
Yes.
To be a fly on the wall.
Right, exactly. But now to also be able to offer veterans and their caregivers a place where they can come during the day to our to the LEAF centers, which we call it, our Life Enrichment and Friendship Center, is really amazing. So it gives them a break. They don't have to worry about paying anything out of pocket for it. And we just bill the VA. We do all the connections. And we really wanted to make sure we understood that process as much as you can understand the VA process. So bear with us. We're still trying to figure it out, but I think we have pretty good groundwork laid to be able to make that as seamless as possible. And then in-home services as well. And because a lot of people don't feel comfortable going to a group setting, or maybe they're not able to do that physically, or the caregiver's like, I just need an hour or two by myself. They don't need to be gone the whole day.
Right.
So, you know, our in-home services through the VA is I think it covers the whole support system. And I think that's just amazing, and we're really excited about being able to offer that. I think we have around 6,000 veterans in our county, and so, you know, that's no small number, and we know they're aging, and so there's definitely a need, and I'm glad that we were proactive in seeing that need's coming and tried to really put those supports in place before it got too overwhelming.
So when you say that number, how many of those are you serving currently, you think?
Not enough. We've tried. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up, because it is a small knit group. They meet in certain places throughout the county, so we've shared information there. So I would say probably 100 or so.
Okay.
And of course, not all 6,000 are going to need support.
No.
But what we're trying to also do is let them know, if you know a veteran who knows. Right. If a veteran knows a veteran who needs support, then this is your opportunity to support them. So believe it or not, there's a big group that meets in Bojangles. And so,
oh, I believe it.
Yes. And so we actually set that up there. We have the Veteran Food Bank. We've worked with any of the other services and support services in the county to let them know, over at DSS and those sort of things. So we launched the transportation. All this is fairly new, over in the spring and a couple of months ago. So it's, you know, slowly ramping up. And you and I both know it takes a little while to get across the county and around the county. Unless it's good gossip, and then that seems to go really quickly. But services and ports can be a little difficult to hear about. So you just, word of mouth usually is how we're sharing it, and anywhere that we know veterans are meeting.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, that is an amazing thing too, and I think that will continue. So I hope that folks hear this and are able to share and be able to spread that word. Mm-hmm. So
absolutely.
So one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is something that I have been involved with you, and I have not done as well of a job as I would like to, but I do read the updates, and I do know kind of some of the things that are happening. But the Livable Rockingham piece, I think, has really taken off, and
it has.
I want you to kind of tell everybody about that and give some updates on that.
Sure. So Livable, we call it Livable Rockingham, but it's actually known as Livable Communities, and it came out of the World Health Organization. And what they say is there are 8 domains of livability that help people have the best life at any age. And so when I first read about this many years ago, I was like, oh, I can't wait to do this. And I always say I pull out my dog and pony show and tell everybody about it. And people are like, well, we're already doing that. Or I just don't think it's the right time. And I understood that. And so when I moved into my new role, I said, I think it really is time. Let's give it. It was perfect timing because I started my job 30 days before the pandemic started, my new role. And so that gave us a lot of time to really meet. Everybody had time during the pandemic. And so, so we formed a group called Livable Rockingham. And our tagline, it's good for people and it's good for business. And it is. It makes a lot of sense. So Livable Communities means that you have a safe community, a community that supports people in housing, supports people in community engagement, supports people in transportation. And when I say engagement, not only things to do, but volunteerism, civic engagement. And so it really does look at what it takes to have a good quality of life in the community that you live in. And so we launched it over the pandemic, which probably seems very weird. Most people, let's start something new. And through that process has really enabled us to lay some strong groundwork. And actually, I'm really excited that this month we will be applying to be the 11th livable community in the state of North Carolina. And actually, North Carolina just became a livable state. I believe that they were the 10th state in the United States to become livable. So, as I said, it was the right time, and we've had a lot of people. We have a steering committee that's made up of, and my other co-lead on this is Lindsay Pegg, who is the tourism director. And they've been with us from the very beginning. And Hospice of Rockingham County, we also have a community member, Janice Wilkinson, who is also on our steering committee. And then once a month we meet and we are trying to figure out, and we have figured out what our goals are going to be. And out of that, we will formulate a plan. And what I love about this plan, it's actually truly a livable document. I think a lot of times we do plans in the county and we mean well, but we don't lay enough foundation to really keep it going. And so we meet monthly, and it's open to anybody who would like to join. And I love this group because I always tell people every time we're there, you're not here by accident. You were picked to be here. These are people that when you call and say, I need to get something done, this is who you call. I will make that connection for you. Yes, this is the church who's doing this and whatnot. And so we have a large number of community support community members serving, Dawn from the Reidsville Area Foundation, the county planner, DSS. We have assisted livings who are also Hospice of Rockingham, the free clinic. We have people of color who serve on that committee. We have people who are LGBTQ+ who serve on that committee. And so it's truly a representation of Rockingham County. And I think a lot of times whenever you're trying to move something forward as massive as what we're trying to do, you need to have buy-in at the community level. As I say, I'm just the person who's like, yeah, this is what we should be doing. If anything else, that it's up to you guys to move it forward. So we're really excited. We're going to be, like I said, applying the end of this month, and we know we have approval. Last summer, North Carolina did a big, massive survey throughout the state, and we were one of 5 counties who met the threshold to receive that data back. We were the only rural county who met that threshold. And so we actually just hired a data analyst to put together a report to look at the trends, to show what we already know. But you know, people like to have the proof, like to have the facts. And so hopefully we'll be putting that out this fall. But our 3 main initiatives, or our 3 goals, is first of all, we want to create an age-friendly business certification. And what does that mean? First of all, we know businesses are strapped for cash. So actually a lot of things that businesses can do are very low threshold. And you talked about that in your newsletter, and that's why I was so excited. It's making sure there's proper lighting, that the signage is easy to see, that the bathroom is accessible, that they can walk in easily with their walker. And something I think a lot of times people forget is seating. And I always jokingly say, my mom's retired, and her girlfriends love to go to Hamrick. And they'll spend hours in Hamrick, and I pick on her for that. And she said, well, the rule is if we ever get separated, one of us is always sitting in the chairs at the front, and they call them the husband chairs, because they're all sitting there holding their wife's purses as they're all shopping. And something as simple as that, just putting a chair down, just invites people. And we know that older adults spend money. I think they make up 46% of the gross domestic product. And I believe grandparents spend like close to $7 million on their grandkids. So if you're not accessing it, you're missing out. So if with just a few changes, you're inviting not only those people in, but also their money. And that's why we say Livable Rockingham, it's good for people and it's good for business. And so we're looking to start that up. If that's something that people are interested in, we'd love for you to join the work group on that. The other thing is that we're looking at walkability. This year, as you well know, is the year of the trail. And so I knew that maybe our trail system weren't quite supportive for older adults, only because I participated in doing trail work when I was in my 20s, so I know what goes into that. And so Lindsay Pegg over at Tourism, she said a couple ladies who were in their 50s called her and said, we're going to walk every single trail in Rockingham County. And they made it through about 2, and they called her and said, these trails don't support us. We can't navigate them. There's no place to sit. So we took that feedback back and said, well, that's walkability. Not only should you be able to walk around, which y'all have done, Reidsville has done a fantastic job with expanding the sidewalks and putting in lighting, but so your community is walkable. But if we're a tourism destination, then our outdoor space needs to be walkable as well. So we're focusing on that. So the last thing we're looking at is uniform development ordinances, your UDOs. And everybody goes, what are those? It's like, those are the things that govern how your city and your county are run. So your zoning, those sort of things. And so we're looking at those and saying, do those support people as they age throughout their life, but does it also support the young person who's coming in with the family? Because we know that 8 out of 10 people, 45 and older, make a decision about where they're going to live from that point on. So we want to make sure that our community is supporting us. And so that's why we're looking at those as well.
Well, that's great news because the city of Reidsville just voted in their budget. So another great timing to redo their UDO because it has not been done since about the 80s.
Right, and that's what we're finding.
Yes, I'm sure it's that way across Rockingham County.
It's that way across the state, to be honest. So that's nothing
new.
Nothing new. So.
Well, and I think that's, it's not a bad thing. It's just something that, it was done, and then as things needed to be developed, they did those special amendments and text and things, and then it was like, oh, our 20-page document's now 100 pages. It's time to redo and condense again. So that's great. That's
yes, absolutely.
Great how I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason and that timing is everything. And so to me, it just sounds like all the pieces are falling apart, which comes back to that email that you sent me and said, oh, this is great timing because all of these things are happening. So, well, thank you so much for coming on. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, that's it. Thank you very much for having us.
Yes, I'm so excited to see how things continue to grow with you all and how you continue to support the community.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, that's it for today's news and views. Thank you for tuning in. As always, you can find us in the heart of downtown Reidsville at 140 South Scale Street, or on our social media channels, or on our website at www.reidsvillechamber.org. That's it for today. See you real soon.